Hey everyone, let us do a very small project on Servlet and then we will try to extend it to uh, convert it to be working on a JSP. Okay, so what is the basic program that we want to do is a very simple program. We want to create a simple web page. Okay, and in that web page we want to ask the user to enter their name. Okay, we'll be showing something like this, and then user has to enter a name in a given box, and there will be a button available just after the box. Let us call that as submit, and when the user clicks on that submit button, then something should happen. That is the broad idea of this project. Okay, so what are the steps in this is that first of all we will create this and show it to the user. Okay, so the idea is we will be calling this particular page as, maybe let us say, index.html, and that will be our starting point. Why? Because majority of the cases in web projects, um, index.html is always the starting point. Okay, and we will be considering this as our starting point. Okay, so in this particular case, uh, user has to enter something here. Okay, and let us imagine that the user has entered a value called Vikas. Okay, which is my name though. Then what should happen after entering the value called Vikas here? Then user just has to click on this particular button, and when they click on this button, then something should happen. So what exactly should happen is that another page should be generated. Okay, which somewhat looks like this. Okay, let's say the result looks like welcome, followed by the value entered by name, that entered by the user, followed by the exclamatory mark. This is the idea, this is the expected result. So imagine this as when the user is clicking on when the user is kind of typing something here. So user is going to type something in within this box. Okay, within this box user is going to type something. User enters a value, ideally name. Okay, ideally a name of the user. Why? Because that is what the web page is asking. Okay, and when the user is entering a name here, then okay, when the user is entering a name here, as well as user is going to, let me just write it down. User is going to enter a name here, and when user enters a name here and then user clicks on this button, so there are ideally two steps here. Okay, so this is our first step, and there, that is our first step. Okay, and then user is going to basically click on this button. Okay, that is our next step. You can imagine that's that way. Okay, so consider this as the second step. Okay, and then what should happen? If user enters a value here, clicks on the submit button, then after the submit button is clicked, immediately after that what should happen is it should open something like this. Imagine this as your result. Okay, this is your result. Okay, so let me just write it down here. Okay, that is your, wait, output or result. Okay, so in this I also want you to closely observe that I have mentioned this part as green and this is orange, only to demonstrate that this part is the same as that is entered by the user. Okay, this part is the same thing that is entered by the user. This can be anything, it can be any other name. Okay, that is the idea. Okay, so to implement this, what we are going to do, we are first of all going to create a servlet project in our Eclipse. Okay, So let us go to Eclipse. Okay, so we are in Eclipse. Here we are going to create a project. Okay, for that you have to go to File menu and go to New and choose this project name called Dynamic Web Project. Okay, and for this we are going to give the project name as my first web project. And for this, by default, this Apache Tomcat runtime is selected. But suppose that in your case it is not selected, you just have to suppose that in your case it looks like this, target runtime as none. Then you just have to click on the new runtime, and then you have to expand this Apache, select the version of your Tomcat. In our case it is 8.5. Click next, and then it will be asking you to enter the uh, address of your address of your Tomcat. You just have to go to the location where it is located. In your case, in my case, it is located in E drive. Okay, and in E drive Java resources, and under Java resources I have this particular folder called Apache Tomcat. So I'm going to just click that, double click that, and then click on the select folder. Okay, that way I have this location attached to my project, and then click finish. But in my case I have already done that. Let me show you. Cancel it. I'm choosing this one. Okay, and this thing is already configured in my system. So when you complete the previous steps, you will also see something like this. Okay, by default dynamic web module version is selected as 3.1. We will try to keep it, and configuration we will going to make it as custom. Okay, we will see what happens to the project if we are choosing any other version than 3.1. Okay, so for now let's get continued, and let's go to the next step. In the next step, it is just briefly showing you where your Java source files, in the sense .java files, will be located, which is src main Java, and all your output files, which are your bytecodes, will be located at build classes. Going next, it is asking you that your context root, which is like the uh, location of your project, is this, which is your project name. Okay, and content directory, in the sense your all HTML code will be located here at web app. Okay, just click finish, and you can see that the project is created. Now, when you expand this project, you will not see the same kind of structure that you have seen in core Java projects. This is a dynamic web project, and it has a different folder structure. When you expand it, you will observe that there is something called a deployment descriptor, which we are currently not seeing. Going to Java resources, under this Java resources, when you expand, you will see src main Java. That is the exact folder structure we have seen earlier at the time of creating the project, which is where your Java source files will be located. And under the build folder, if you expand it further, you currently you don't see anything, but as and when you are compiling Java files, another folder will be created called classes, and in that folder you will be finding all the .class files or bytecodes of your Java files. And then under src you will find something called main, but under main folder you will also find one more folder called web app, and this is the folder where you will also be storing your HTML or JSP files, which will be acting as the main source or main point of contact for the users. The main interaction point for the users will be HTML files as well as JSP files. So when you further expand this web app folder, you will find two more folders, which we will discuss later. Okay, for this project we will just try to create our first page. As per our discussion, we are going to create index.html. Okay, so under web app, just right click on the web app folder and go to new, go choose the option called HTML file, and let us give the name as index.html and click finish. Okay, it is generated a very basic boilerplate code, or what you can say is basic structure of your HTML page. I'm going to change the title to my first web page. Okay, web project. Okay, So under the body, I'm going to basically create a form tag and provide some basic structure to the input that I want. What is the input I want? I want something like this. I want name followed by a field followed by a submit. Okay, so I'm going to provide this tag called form tag. Okay, and what I just did is a shortcut available in your Eclipse. So what I just did, let me show you once again. I'm just typing form, which is the form tag I want, and then I'm pressing control space. And when I say control space, it is showing me what has to be generated, and by default form is already selected. I'm just pressing enter on my keyboard, and you will see something like this. So whenever you want to show any kind of a form to the user, this is what you will be actually writing in your HTML as well. So that is what we are writing here. Okay, and then something special here about this action, about this form tag, is it is having something called an action attribute, which we will discuss more in a little while. Let me just remove it for now. Okay, and inside the form tag we are going to provide the exact same things that we need. What are the things we need? The name as a label, and then a box, and then a button. Okay, so for label I'm just providing the name as the text, followed by that I want input tag, so I'm using input and control space. It is showing the suggestion. I'm pressing enter, and that is the input tag. Okay, for this input tag I am providing type attribute as text value, so that I can enter the basic text. To be frank, even if you don't give this type equal to text, it will by default look like a text field. Okay, that we will see in a little while. And after that I also want another input tag, so I'm writing input control space enter, and for this I'm giving type is equal to submit. Okay, what is the submit button? We will just see in a little while, but basically when you give type is equal to submit, it basically creates a button with submit as a value. Okay, so let us test if it is working or not. Okay, all you have to do for running this program, which does not contain a main method, which is the most common execution point for all Java programs. To be frank, not all Java programs. Why? Because this program does not contain any main method. Then how is it working? We are going to run this particular program on our server. What is that? Our Tomcat server. Okay, so you just have to do it so many different ways. You can just right click on index.html file here, go to run, and then click on run on server, or you can choose this particular file, right click on this index.html file, go to run, and click on run on server. Both ways it is totally fine. If your server is configured here, you will be able to execute this program. So I'm going to run this. Okay, and then it is asking which server you want to run it as, so I'm choosing this one, Tomcat 8.5, clicking next. Our project is already configured for execution with this particular server. I'm going to click on finish, and it is showing something on the console, and then it has executed. Okay, I also want you to observe this URL, that it is showing localhost colon 8080, which represents localhost represents current machine, and 8080 represents the port number where our Tomcat server is installed. And my first web project is our project name. Index.html is our HTML page which we have just run, and it is showing the name colon, which is the first text, a text box where user can enter the text, and then a button submit. And I also want you to observe that submit button is having S capital, because that is how input tag with type submit works. Okay, going back to the code, what I'm going to do is for type input submit, I'm going to give an attribute called value, and in this value attribute, whatever value I give, that will be considered as the text of the button. Let us just, for briefly, let us say I'm saying register. Okay, okay, and then I'm going to save it, and I want you to observe the console part. There will be a few changes here, and then go back here and refresh it. You see the button has changed into register. So it can be anything, to be frank. For now we will keep it, we will just remove it, we will keep it uh, basic default behavior. Okay, so now once our form is ready, it is working and everything, I'm going to enter my name and then click on register. Okay, wait, I have changed it, but I did not refresh the page. Refresh. Okay, now it is back to submit. Okay, I'm giving my name, clicking on submit. Nothing happens, to be frank. You also see in the URL there is a question mark, and after the question mark nothing happened, to be frank, and it is showing you back to the same page. Okay, going back. So what we have done so far is we have uh, created our page. We have created the starting point for the execution, which will be visible to the user. Okay, after that is done, what we want basically is when the user clicks on the submit, then what it should basically do is it should take us to the take us to the next page. It should take us to our result page. Okay, that is what we are going to do right now. Further, we have to provide something called an action attribute in the form tag. Okay, so that is the purpose of action attribute. In the action attribute, what you have to give is the name of the resource which will be executed when you click on the submit button. Okay, so let me write it down. Okay, so I'm writing action attribute value should be the Java resource that should be executed when submit button is clicked. Okay, so that is the idea. Okay, so whatever we write here, that part will be that resource will be executed. So here I'm writing, let us say in this case we want something to be greeted, so let us call it as uh, greeting. Okay, let us call greeting as the Java resource which will be executed when the submit button is clicked. Okay, now I'm going to save this file once again, and I'm going back to my browser to check if it is working or not. I'm going to go back, refresh it. Okay, and I'm going to enter my name, click on submit. Something happened. This is the most common error you will be finding whenever you are dealing with servlets. Most common. Okay, let us try to understand what is going wrong here. Okay, whenever you see something like this, one most important thing to observe is in the URL. In the URL, something has changed here. Previously, it was index.html, but now it is greeting. Something that we have mentioned here. That is something special to observe. But most importantly, you can also observe something here. What it is telling, what is the message of this error? Okay, the requested resource, my first web project greeting, is not available. It is saying that that particular file is not available. Okay, one thing is clear, that in our program we have not created such a file. Okay, and so there is a possibility that it is saying that it is not available. So let us go and make it available. How to make it available? You can right click on Java resources, or you can right click on your project and then go new and then choose this class, choose this file type called servlet. Okay, servlet is just a Java file which is a special type of a file which we will discuss in a while. Let's click on this servlet. Okay, so it is asking for you to choose the package name. For now I'm choosing it as com.demo. You can give any package name as you wish. Okay, and as you can see, it is also getting stored at src main java, which is the default location of our Java files. Okay, and the class name I'm choosing is as greeting. Why I'm writing greeting here? Because this name should match the name that you have provided here. Okay, for now it can be anything else as well, that we will discuss a little later. But for now we will keep this name as well as this name same. Okay, and then just click next. Okay, it is telling you that this is the URL mapping, and just a small hint for some of you who may already know, this thing and this thing should actually match. Okay, this is called URL mapping. We will come back to it in a little while later. Okay, going next. For this particular small project, we will not be needing all of these options, so we will just remove everything. Sorry, we will just remove this. By default, constructors is chosen. Remove this, remove the do post, and keep to get. Okay, then click finish. Okay, this is a file. You can see it is mentioned as Greeting.java, the same name that we have given. Okay, and the same greeting name you will find as the class name. Of course, as all Java programs, class name and the file name matches. But you will also observe something called @web servlet. Okay, and it is saying within double quotes something called /greeting. Okay, that is something very, 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 very special, which we will see in a little while after observing what is happening in our program. Okay, for now let me remove this comment lines, which might be a bit confusing for now. Let me remove this as well. Okay, and then I'm going to save this program, and let me restore my file. Okay, now let us go back to our HTML page once again. Okay, and this thing is quite common, guys. When you're developing your web application on Eclipse, you need not run your project again and again. You just have to run it once, and once your browser is running, once your page is running, all you have to do is go to its initial page, which is the index.html. So in this case, everything looks the same, localhost 8080, my first web project. But here, after the slash, we just have to type index.html, and because we have already executed it before, it is visible here. I'm just pressing enter. It goes back to the main page, which is index.html. I'm going to click this box and choose my name and click submit once again. What should happen now? The greeting file is available, right? We have provided the greeting file which was missing earlier, which the same name that we have provided here. When we click on the submit button, this is where it has to go. It has to find this resource and execute it. Now let us see what happens when I click on the submit button. Again the same error. What is this? What might be going wrong? Okay, there is one more reason why this error comes. The error might be because your server is not configured properly. Okay, let us go verify that. I'm going to the console. Okay, and in the console you can go through the whole thing, but especially you can focus on one part. The Apache Tomcat native library, which allows something something, was not found on Java library path. Maybe the path is wrong. Let us verify that. Okay, so for that I'm going to search for my environment variables. Okay, and this environment variables, and see, this is Catalina home, which is the configured Tomcat server path. But I want you to observe the address here: eJava resources, TS Software's Apache Tomcat. But earlier when I have shown you, the path was eJava resources Apache, right? Let us go verify that. Okay, how will you verify? In Eclipse, all you have to go to is this servers tab, and then double click this server. It will open a separate tab, and you can see this runtime environment. Click on that. It is showing you the path. Okay, it is showing you eJava resources Apache Tomcat. That is the configured Apache Tomcat for this project. But here in the class path, I have a different path. That was the issue. So just click it, edit it. Here, this is the location I want to be. Okay, this part has to be deleted. Why? Because my location is in eJava resources Apache Tomcat. So I'm changing this. Or else, if you have a doubt about this, you can just delete it, click on browse directory, and go to that location. I'm going to PC, I'm going to E drive, and I'm going to Java resources, and then I'm going to this Apache Tomcat. Okay, that is the location I want. Click OK. Then you see it is the same location. It is removed with this TS softwares. Okay, then click OK, and that is the exact location we also want somewhere else. So let me just copy this, and here in the path of system variables, I'm going to click edit, and you see this is also having the same location. Let me edit it and paste my new location. Click OK. Click OK once again. Click OK once again. Now the location has been changed for in the class path as well as in our project. Sorry, it is changed in the class path with respect to the project configuration of our Tomcat. Okay, click close for this, and now let us try to run this once again. Okay, once again, this project is already running. If you check the console, the project is already running. This red button is already visible. It means it is running. Will it affect the program? Let us check it. Okay, I'm going back, refresh. Okay, why did I go back? Because it was running the greeting page, which is not our initial page, the starting page. So I'm just clicking back so that it goes to the index.html page. Then I'm clicking refresh so that the project refreshes as per the new changes. Now when I click on, because once again I'm entering my name, click on submit button, it is still showing the same problem. What could go wrong now? It could be that the changes that you have made are not affected for the current execution. Okay, so let us stop this execution and start the execution fresh once again. Right click, run as, run on server, choose the server, next, finish. It's running once again. This was that 404 error. Again, I'm entering my name, click on submit. This time it is working, guys. It's working. What has happened? It was not working. It's working. What is the difference? The changes that we have made to the class path was not affected while the project was running. So we just had to stop the execution and start it again. Now the configurations are properly set. Now, so this part is clear. It is running this particular resource called greeting. Great. What is this question mark? We'll see. But what is this part? Let us go back to the code. In Greeting.java, double click. Okay, what is happening? This particular line is getting executed. Why? One thing that you can observe is it is mentioned served at colon and space, and that is the exact thing you will see here. Served at colon space, that part. Okay, and why is this part coming from? Where it is coming from? For now, let us ignore it. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all of this. After this served at, we don't care what it is getting printed. What the result that I want is, we want the result as welcome because exclamatory mark. This is the result we want, right? So here, instead of writing served at, I am writing welcome comma space because exclamatory mark. Okay, that's it. Let us run and check whether it is working or not. I'm going to the web browser once again, going back, refresh, and I'm going to type my name. Hola. Wow, it's working. Is it working? Maybe not, maybe yes. In our result, in our program, I have written exact same thing, and that is the exact same thing is visible. Is it the case that if user is entering any other name in the text field, even then we will get the same result? That's a good doubt. Let us test it. I'm going back, refresh it. This time I'm going to give a different name other than Vikas. Okay, let's say Vikram. The expected result here is it should give me what? It should give me, sorry, the expected result is that it should give me something like welcome Vikram exclamatory mark. Okay, that is the expected result. This is the expected result. Is it going to give me this result? Let us check it. I'm going to click on the submit button. Oh, it is still because our code is hard coded, guys. This line is hard coded. Hard coded in the sense I'm giving the value directly. But yes, that is wrong. That is not correct. But one thing is sure, our program is working. What is it doing? When I click on the submit button, the greeting program is running, which is our Java resource, and it is doing the job that is mentioned inside this particular method. Okay, how this particular method is running, how this particular block is running, and why it is doing this job, and what exactly this method is, and why this part is running, how to make it work in such a way that whatever user value that is entered exactly comes here. All of that we'll discuss in the next video. Okay guys, bye bye. I hope this video was good and useful to you.